Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bets and Balance Sheets. Today with me, I have Mike, who is the co-founder of BetComply. He has years of hands-on experience navigating complex regulatory landscapes. He has built a reputation as one of the industry's most trusted compliance experts, and he helps operators enter new markets, stay compliant, and grow sustainably in a very challenging and always evolving industry. Thanks for being with us, Mike.
Thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Cool. So to start, we have this little game that we play with our guests, and we call it Splash the Cash. And this is basically a question. So the question is, if you walk out of the casino tomorrow with $10 million, what game were you playing in the casino?
I would play something, a poker variant kind of game. I like to feel that I have been the one decided that this was going to be the win. Like I had the influence, right? I'm not
Okay,
lucky. I was the one that made the good decision.
awesome. And what would you spend on first? Like, what would be your first crazy expense?
If I win an amount like that, I will make sure I have no bills left, no debts left, no more like no mortgage kind of thing, all those kind of thing. I'm a very boring guy. I rather have no bills than high income.
Okay, fair. But do you have like something fun that you would really like to buy if you had that amount of money?
A watch, I guess, something like that. I'm a father of three. I have small kids. I've all the money I get, I spend on them. So probably if I get that kind of money, it will probably also go to them.
A lot of
Uh,
toys, I'm sure. They will be
uh
very happy.
yes.
Cool. Okay, so let's get on to the serious questions. The first question I have for you today is, if you were to make a carbonara, which ingredient should you use?
Oh, I have to answer this right. So you start with the cream and the peas. A good pasta carbonara, if I still remember it correctly, it's the egg yolks. So you need a few egg yolks. Some people do a little egg white, but you need egg yolks. You need the Parmigiano Reggiano. You need the guanciale.
Important.
And maybe a little bit of black pepper, but that will be it.
Nah, see, perfect. That sounds like a very good
Yes.
carbonara. Okay, so some questions about you and trying to understand how you got here. It's not like you woke up and thought, oh my God, I would love to work in gambling. This is my dream.
No.
So how did you land in gambling? Like, what was your journey until you got here?
I used to work in healthcare industry in the Netherlands. I moved to Ibiza for a few months to stay with a friend of mine that was working there. I joined him there. I met my now wife there, who was a chef there, and then the season ended in Ibiza after the summer, and then we were like, okay, are we going to go back to the Netherlands, or what are we going to do? And then I started looking online, and then I found a job for something in Malta. And back then, I didn't even know that the country existed. But we're looking for Dutch speakers. Um, and then I look up on Google how many restaurants there are on Malta. Well, if you know, there's many, 2,000 or something. So it's like, oh, well, a chef can find a job with between 2,000 restaurants. I can get a job there. Let's go there. We took a flight to Malta, never heard of it, never been there. We landed, and that's how I joined the iGaming industry.
I have to say, because Malta, some people love it, some people hate it. Like, how was your experience landing in Malta? Like, you didn't know what to expect. So what did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. We stayed there for a total of 7 years. First years, it was just me and my girlfriend, working hard, networking, growing, exploring the island, taking trips. We loved it. I think now this phase of my life with the kids and everything, I would enjoy it less because it's not like a super family friendly island. I would say. I think it's great when you're like young and ambitious and professional, and because there's a lot of movement and thriving things there, right? And yeah, we absolutely loved it, and I still go there for 3-4 times a year for work, of course.
So tell me, why should gaming operators trust you with compliance?
That's a very direct question. Happy to answer it, but yeah, we know what we're doing. We've done it. We are doing it. We have been doing it for a long time. The team that we gathered consists of experts in all fields of compliance. So your legal, your technical, your licensing, your AML, your RG. These people have been in the front lines, have been consulting, have been leading teams. We've never filled an application in any regulated market ever. We have never filled an audit. Because of that kind of reputation, you can trust us with a project. Teams internally struggle usually with deadlines and wishes from above. Commercial teams and C levels like, oh, we want to go in this market, want to go there, want to go there, and then all the other teams are like, oh no, what are we doing? We are already too busy, and how do we do this? How do we do that? And we are the kind of partner you can trust with actually reaching that deadline by plugging people in or helping you out and make sure that you guys internally don't go crazy because of additional roadmaps or wishes. Stay that the current operations are compliant and in your hands, and then we take those kind of projects on to make sure that roadmaps are met.
Okay, cool. I mean, obviously, gambling is one of the toughest industries with the regulations. It's always changing and has a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure. How do you help companies like adapt to regulatory changes? And but most important, how do you translate these regulatory frameworks into processes that they can implement on the day to day?
So I think it starts with, as a compliance officer or compliance consultant or compliance X, you are the bridge between that regulation and the operation. And for many reasons, one of them being that the rest of the operation doesn't know or doesn't want to know the inners and outs of the regulation and the law. They don't want to know which article is why in ABC. They ask you the question, what do I need to do? And or do I really need to do it? Yeah, that's a translation you make as a company. That's what you are there to do, to make the translation to the operation, and then balance the commercial and the compliance side to a level where it is compliant what you are doing, but it's still commercially viable. People that want to run a casino, they want to run a casino. They don't want to run a law firm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have started a law firm.
Hmm.
So they know they need to do what they need to do because it is a high risk industry. They have internal people there, but at the same time, they don't want to spend time on compliance or things themselves that they could have otherwise spent on their core business, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. You can support them in a way where you lift a lot of the weight away from the internal team so that they can focus on what they are great at, building a great casino, building a great bookmaker, a good product, whatever the case is, and that the stuff is safe in the back, that the guardrails are there, and that if something goes wrong or if something becomes a challenge, that you know someone that you can pick up the phone to, whether that's internally or externally, like us.
Okay. So you see, I see it more like an ongoing partnership, and that's
Mhm.
the way to achieve success with the operators.
Yeah,
Um, and like, how do they measure the success of these partnerships and their compliance? And how does that affect their broader reputation?
the issue with measuring compliance or measuring success in compliance is the lack of things happening. It's because your success means that you're not getting fined or that you're not getting delayed or that you're not getting suspended on your bank account. So it is the lack of things happening that measure the success of compliance usually. Therefore, it's also sometimes hard to sell, right? Because you're saying, oh yeah, we're doing great at compliance. Oh yeah, sure. Why? Yeah, because we did not get a fine. Yeah, okay. So I'm a great driver if I did not get an accident. Now that does not really mean the same thing, right? So other things that you can measure is this the turnaround of certain processes. You know, how fast are we in updating frameworks, or how good are we perceived by the regulators. It's all really, there's a lot of subjective things other than the hard threshold of things not happening, like a fine or a warning.
Do you see like a pattern when it comes to doing compliance wrong?
Many things go wrong, and it really depends on the size of the company and the jurisdiction that you're looking at. But with smaller companies and startups, it's usually they underestimate how complex compliance is and how high risk the industry is. They just think, oh, I make cool games, or I know how to make a cool casino, so let's go. And then they underestimate how big that is, and underestimate, oh, compliance, so we need a compliance officer, let's just appoint Rick. Um, and then Rick doesn't know what he's doing, but he's appointed because they think, oh yeah, we need to tick a box. That you see in larger companies, you see that if you have very large compliance teams, is that one person thinks that the other person got it covered, and therefore you get blind spots, right? It's because people don't really own the thing that they are working on because they are part of a machine. So if you are the machine as a person compliance team, for example, then you have to own everything. But if you are a gear in a 20 gear machine, sometimes you think, oh, I don't need to do this task, or I don't need to look at this because one of the other gears will have it, and then they don't.
What would be like the craziest story that you can tell us about of something you've seen? You're like, how is this possible?
Oh, geez. Well, most of this, I cannot. Most of the things I would like to say, I cannot say because I'm on the NDA with them.
Fair.
Um, iGaming is interesting for many reasons. You get some really interesting cases. So when I started in iGaming, I started at the bottom. Meaning customer service entry level job. I started at the customer service team lead, risk compliance, and went up from there. So in the beginning, you see a lot of like the complaints, the refunds. You see money launderers or people attempting to use the platform in a criminal matter. And then that investigating of those kind of players that you see a player profile, you look at those deposit, oh, this is more money is moving there, and oh, look, this proof of address, I think it's fake, and all that kind of investigation I think is very cool. In the time that I've been investigating and leading teams, that we have found some very interesting cases that we reported internationally, like really big groups of suspected activity, things that ended up in the newspaper. So I think like, oh, that's interesting to investigate. I like that kind of thing, connecting the dots, investigate what's going on here. Is this someone that is just gambling, or is this a criminal, has this person been really lucky, and did he win 1 million last year, or why did I not win that 1 million, and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing.
Did you ever get the chance to speak with people that are trying to, like, uh, get around the rules or try to
Yes.
scam one of the casinos? Like, what is their mindset?
So quote unquote back in the days, what was very popular were the forums, where if you, especially UK players, UK punters were known for it, where if they knew a trick on how to either misuse a bonus or how to get a refund or how to misuse self-exclusion to get a refund, they would share the results in those forums with others. Like, oh yeah, if you say this or if you do this, you can get your money back. Those kind of things were very popular. They still are in some places. So you see that uh, you see people that are pretending to be others. I've had the weirdest claims when we were investigating players for source of funds because they were spending too much, and then they said, "No, I cannot show you this because I'm part of MI6," and all of that, all those kind of weird claims. And every gambler in the industry has a nephew that is a lawyer and another niece that works for the newspaper. That's also always the case. So, and yeah, those are interesting cases. And I think because I like to also talk in a normal way about these things, because when you're in compliance, you also deal with the bad stuff, right? You also deal with the gambling addicts. You deal with the criminals that happen, the bad stuff that happens. And I am of the philosophy that you need to decide in those investigations who was wrong. Okay. And if the casino was wrong and they didn't fulfill the duty of care or didn't fulfill the obligations, then you have to fix what you did wrong and you have to pay what you're due and all that kind of stuff. And you do that properly. Um, but if you're trying to scam the casino, or you come with some story that you're for MI6 and therefore cannot do source of funds, then I want to make a joke about you.
And you spoke a lot about the mistakes that you generally see from these gaming operators. Do you have specific best practices or advices that you can give to the operators that listen to this podcast on, being compliant, on staying compliant, and most importantly, achieving both of these without adding friction to their everyday operations?
So there's one I want to mention that I haven't mentioned in other places before, but I've been thinking about a lot lately, because a lot of panelists or speakers, they speak about trust with the regulators, and we need to educate the media and get a better picture as an industry, because we're also doing a lot of things good as a regulated industry. One of the things I think we can really improve as a sector, as operators, is that we are more honest towards the regulator when it comes to what your position is as a company. So are you aware of the position that you have? So what do I mean with that? Most operators only own the entity that holds the license. They don't own the platform, don't own the games, don't own the vault reporting, but they hold the license. The regulator wants to see in your policy framework, in your communication, in your dealing with situations, that you are aware of your situation. Because even if you are as the entity, you hold the license, and someone else is the platform, it's the same group and all the kind of thing. It is no, someone else is managing that platform, and I'm aware of that risk, and I know how to manage the risk. Don't pretend it is your platform if it legally it's not the same entity that is. So that is one, that you communicate and work out of the position, and don't pretend that you have a different position that you have. And then the second thing is reporting incidents. Now, that comes also back to the pretending that everything is great. So when you apply for a license, everything is great on paper in all your policies, right? You have the best framework out there. That's why you want the license. That's why they should give you the license,
Yeah.
right? And that's also your aim. That's what you want to do. Regulators know that in practice things go wrong. What they hate, what they don't like, is that they have to find out that it went wrong. And that by a complaint or by an audit, and then you trying to hide it, and then you scrolling quickly past this player, and no, that's what they dislike, and that's what you get fined for. That's what you get sanctioned for, because you at that point created friction in the relationship. You tried to hide stuff. They know things happen. So what, from our experience, what we see is that if a mistake is made, and then again back to the complaints and stuff, if you make a mistake, you need to own it. You could fix it. If the deposit limit was breached for a player because of a technical issue, that's what happened. Refund the player what was not supposed to, and then tell the regulator yourself. With some jurisdictions, you have to do it, but not all operators do it. But do it and say, listen, we had a technical issue. This deposit limit was breached. We noticed it. We fixed it. We refunded the player. It's not happening again anymore. Done.
Yeah.
You might get a reply saying, "Oh yeah, you really need to investigate that. That can be serious. Don't do that." And if you're reporting this 20 times in 2 months, then yes, you still will get an issue. But the fact that you are reporting it yourself, you're saying, "Hey, something happened, but we noticed it, we fixed it." Then you avoid. I've never seen a fine issued where it says Casino X reported that one player breached the deposit limit, and now we fine them 10 million. And that's why I say report be honest about your position, aware of your position, and be honest when something happens and fix it.
Yeah. I feel like probably a lot of them, like you said, they don't do it out of fear of either losing their license
Or
or
getting a fine.
getting a fine,
Yeah,
and end up like not solving the issues that they have at hand, which will cause them much bigger problems later on when they cannot hide it anymore.
yeah. And that's the thing, because if you did report it and said you fixed it, and this is all and how we did it, if then in that scenario the player comes to the regulator and reports the incident, then they say, oh, well, the operator already reported it themselves, they fixed it, they owned it, and it's done. Everyone knows that things happen, but you need to own the mistake and fix it and just report it. Because, like I said, I've never seen a fine for a self-reported incident like that.
Yeah, interesting. Do you think that if they had like a time to solve issues and they were legally obliged to report on everything that they find, but also have like a period of 24 hours from spotting it to actually uh,
Hmm.
solving it, do you think that coming from a regulator perspective would make it easier for them? Because we see like
Yeah, because
services.
not all regulations or jurisdictions have that. Some jurisdictions, like the Netherlands, for example, you have the obligation to report it within 72 hours of it happening. You don't need to have it fixed by then. You just need to report it by then. Some jurisdictions don't even have the obligation or not defined, but most of the times it's like 72 hours that you need to report it. And the report can even be, oh, we have a signal, we're investigating it, we don't know the answer.
Yeah.
That can also be the report, but they want the notification to be done within 72 hours usually.
Yeah, because we see this with financial services, and it's very common. Like they have to report a breach, but then they have a period in which they have to solve that breach. But the report needs to be there, and then they solve it. And it's not because of that they're gonna get a fine or lose their license. It's just part of the process. Okay, so I have a little game as well that I want to play, which is we call Finish the Sentence. And I just
Okay.
want to say that nothing here will be considered as professional advice or admissible in a court of law. So the first sentence is, if you had to win back £1,000 in one night, you would start with,
If I had to win it back.
yeah.
Oh, again, I will play a poker variant again, thinking
Okay.
that I'm in control. I can
But
do this.
were you ever a professional poker player, or you just like poker?
I like to play poker. I go like 3-4 times a year. I go recreational to a casino for a poker night and that kind of thing. I like because it's like saying you are in control, quote unquote, right? It's
Yeah,
still like a game of chance. So that's what like okay, I'll turn this 1,000 into 3,000 by making the best decisions that you can do.
exactly. Okay, second sentence is, the best money launderers always.
Brag about it.
Okay, that's good. If I couldn't win anything of value, either money, gold, or jewelry, I would still take.
I would still take the risk for the heck of it.
Okay, for the fun. That's
Hmm.
good. And like in all the years that you've been in gambling, was there a moment or something that stood out really to you in this journey?
Um, well, a few things. That one is that like those examples of those crazy player cases, you know, like the MI6 stories and stuff. I always remember. Everyone always remembers the great company parties that they do in Malta. With the company events are the best. Because major achievements that you celebrate, those are always great. That I love in iGaming. Um, yeah, and I love the events. I'm a conference guy.
Yeah, I feel like the event is where a lot of also business gets done because it's a more personable way to meet people, and a lot of these industries are still run based on trust and personal
Should
connections. Yeah,
Yeah, people do business with people, they say. So that's the thing, and you need to be out there networking with people to be trusted,
exactly.
and look each other in the eyes.
That's true. Do you think like there's something in this industry that is not discussed enough?
This can open a can of worms. The thing that I really don't like seeing lately is twofold. One is the waves of redundancies that we're seeing across the board. It's just, we for December we had a wave, the quote unquote usual wave before Christmas, which I don't just it's just a shame for people that happens. Um, and the second thing is the overpromising and the lying B2B. Come on, I know that we work in iGaming and casinos, and we like to do with flashy images and bonuses and stuff. But if we're doing business between each other, let's not use that same approach.
Yeah.
I sometimes make the joke, like say, okay, if you're a turnkey platform provider, I need to be able to turn the key and not turn the key and the car breaks down. Okay, so let's do less casino talk to each other when we're doing business and more honest and straightforward. That's one, and and the second thing, which was related to that redundancy, is that what we're seeing is a lot of investments happened in the last years or year, especially into the AI projects and new tools. A lot of operators have seen that the investment that they have done is not returning immediately. Some of these companies are quote unquote imploding on those investments. And that's what we're seeing a little bit. So you have that in the perfect storm with all the tax increases and whatnot. So that's not a great environment to be in. So let's not make it worse for ourselves by with the marketing communication between each other. Um, yeah, that's what I want to close off with, I think.
Cool. Well, I just have one last thing, and I have to ask this because I think this is where the good stuff is. What was the craziest story you've ever heard from a friend in the industry of something they experienced in gambling that you can share here?
I think one of the craziest stories is on one of the conferences in Malta, I think it was 2018, where we had some issues on the floor where, let's say, scenes from movies were reenacted on the floor, causing the police to have to like intervene a little bit. So I think that's the most cryptic, political correct description I can give. And that caused for other events afterwards to be more restrictive, and now it's a bit more behaved. But that was like one of the key triggers that triggered it. Crazy, crazy
That's
story.
funny. We came a long way, honestly. I remember my first
We do.
gambling event was very different than the last one I went, for sure.
Yeah, same.
Cool. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being with us today
It's a pleasure.
and sharing your experience and about BetComply. If you want to know more about BetComply, please make sure you follow them on LinkedIn and also add Mike. I'm sure he will be able to answer all your questions. So yeah,
For sure.
thank you so much. Speak soon.
Muito obrigado. Bom dia.
Obrigado.
Yeah.